What is up, everybody? Solomon here. Every once in a while, you stumble across a ridiculous document, and this is going to be one of those videos. I'm not sure if anybody found this yet. This probably came out over the past few days here. It's not one of the things, or at least I don't believe through the IMF, that you can download or go to their site and find. Maybe it is, but that's not how I found it. So targeted searches on Google, so I had to actually download this document, but this just came out over the past few days, directly mentioning XRP and the XRPL. This is pretty gigantic. It also mentions Stellar as a potential option, but all right, I'm going to get through this. I'm not going to read this entire document here, but this is pretty massive. So there's 38 pages within this document. This is a document entitled Trust, Bridges, and Money Flows. Now, if you've been paying attention over the past week or two, there was some narratives coming out from the Bank for International Settlements and the IMF about kind of a common marketplace or this kind of global marketplace surrounding CBDCs and stuff like that. This, I think, is an extension of that. Obviously, take that with a grain of salt. But Trust, Bridges, and Money Flows, a digital marketplace to improve cross-border payments. Of note within this are the authors. So here you've got prepared by Tobias Adrian, Rodney Garrett, Dong Hae, and Tommaso Grafoli. These are individuals that are either at the IMF or at the Bank for International Settlements. Now, these are fintech notes offering practical advice from the International Monetary Fund's staff members to policymakers on important issues. These views are expressed in the fintech notes are of those by the authors and don't necessarily represent the views of the International Monetary Fund, the Executive Board, or the International Monetary Fund's management. But make no mistake about it, these individuals do look like they are employed by the International Monetary Fund. We know Tobias is, which I'll show you in a second here. All right, things of note within this before we get into the XRP. Stellar mentions, this is pretty massive again, cross-border payments are expensive, slow, and opaque. These problems reflect multiple frictions, many of which boil down to limited trust among counterparties. Trust plays a central role in exchanging credit-based money. End users need to trust the issuers of money, and issuers must trust users to satisfy financial integrity requirements. Transactions are possible only where trust links exist. Interoperability between different forms of money can thus be conceptualized as the network of trusted links necessary for transactions. Traditionally, across borders, trust links involve exclusive bilateral credit relationships among corresponding banks. However, the fixed costs required to build these links foster an expensive and concentrated system. This paper interprets different payment arrangements in terms of the implied trust structures, discusses how the tokenization of money alters trust links and allows for a potentially more efficient market structure to exchange money. The paper ends with a suggested global marketplace to trade tokenized money directly across borders. They give three suggestions. One essentially is XRP and the XRPL. The other one would be Stellar, XLM, and the other is potentially integrating DeFi aspects, which you'll see here in a second. So let me go ahead. You can see the glossary here that has XRP, but let me go up to this. So this is a cross-country marketplace model with tokenized money. One possible model to enhance cross-border payments is to establish a marketplace on a digital platform to trade tokenized money across borders. For the purposes of exposition, the proposal can be divided into two parts: interoperability and foreign exchange. The interoperability part entails transferring money to a recipient initially on a different trust network and can be illustrated in a domestic or cross-border context. The foreign exchange part is instead unique to the cross-border context, as it entails exchanging one currency for another before transferring it to the final recipient. You can get down in here. It's talking about a new model being needed, dubbed the multi-ownership model, finding its roots in the basic property discussed earlier, that tokenized money is no longer an exclusive bilateral relationship. Simply put, person J can receive money from person I in the form of A coins. Moreover, to the extent that person J trusts those coins to satisfy the redemption criteria, or more simply, that his or her gateway trusts those coins, person J should be indifferent to holding either A or B coins, and so the transaction should be able to go through. Now they get into different models within this, so extensions and further considerations. First, let me read this because I know a lot of this kind of verbiage might be boring, but it's talking about three models arising for this kind of global marketplace. The first model would be a private settlement asset and marketplace, such as Ripple's XRP. Or the second model would be an open source marketplace, such as the Stellar Foundations. Now, we do know, obviously, that the XRPL is open source, but I'm not going to argue with this. I'm just going to present what's in here. So the first model, a private settlement asset and marketplace, such as XRP, the XRPL. The second would be an open source marketplace, such as the Stellar Foundations. And more recently, the third model would be DeFi networks and a marketplace and settlement asset based on unbacked crypto assets, such as Strike, which leverages Bitcoin and the Lightning Network. However, a public solution, potentially run by a regulated private entity, has key advantages such as tackling the coordination problem around centralizing participation and liquidity provision, offering clear and trusted governance and operational stability, providing full compatibility with financial integrity standards. So they are giving somewhat caveats within this, but they're talking about three of the models, one definitively being XRP, the second definitively being XLM, and the third being DeFi. Now, this is where they get into extensions and further considerations. They talk about CBDCs. So first, the marketplace model is agnostic about which types of coins are traded. Second, the marketplace model is equally agnostic about which currencies are traded. Third, and related, liquidity in the foreign exchange market is a key factor of success. Fourth, foreign exchange trading in the marketplace must not fragment foreign exchange markets globally. Fifth, an important question is to who builds and operates such a marketplace and which rules will govern it. And here's the three models again. Again, guys, I'll let you guys read through this. I'll post the download link for this document, but I thought it was pretty massive. Obviously, you can also see within the glossary here, you can see XRP mentioned. Of note within this is one of the authors of that paper from the IMF. He is a financial counselor and director at the IMF. This is Status posting this from back in 2020. I'll play this briefly for you guys to give you additional context.
And, a large part of the population in the world doesn't have access to bank accounts. And even if it does have access to bank accounts, those are extremely expensive. It's expensive to make payments, wirements, international payments. So I think one of the big motivations for this new technology, right, because Agustin is asking why, is that there's huge financial exclusion, and these technologies have proven to increase financial inclusion enormously. So I think you have to look broadly around the world. I think this is one motivation, and I think the Ripple example is one example, and Norman has talked about that, is that international payments are very expensive and the structure is not very well built.
There you guys go. Trust bridges and money flows. This is talking about a global marketplace for tokenization, a digital marketplace to improve cross-border payments. And, directly within this, you have three models arising from this cross-country marketplace with tokenized money, one of which being XRP that they give. And they're literally saying a private settlement asset and marketplace such as XRP or the XRPL. The second model, an open source marketplace such as Stellar Foundations or more recently DeFi. So, you think about the International Monetary Fund, you think about the authors, so IMF and Bank for International Settlements within this, a lot of people don't, realize where this space is headed. They are going to tokenize, pretty much all the money. It'll be interesting to watch which platforms, ledgers, can interact with that tokenization aspect. And right within the IMF's document here, FinTech Notes, you can see that they give three examples, so I thought it was pretty huge. On the back end of this, you see Swift successfully testing, I think, 5,000 CBDC transactions between the R3 Corda ecosystem and Quorum. Obviously, there's going to be more testing, connecting digital islands, et cetera, et cetera. We did also see Hedera yesterday pass 5 billion mainnet transactions. I should say of note, it looks like there are some issues with some of the smart contract aspects or irregularities going on right now within Hedera. It initially kind of stemmed from some of the decentralized exchanges. I think like you can see HeliSwap, you can see Pangolin, Hashport pausing their bridge. So I would pay attention to an additional official announcement within that. I mean, kudos for the 5 billion mainnet transactions. That's huge. From what I saw about these announcements coming from the DEXs, it had to do with liquidity pools and smart contracts involving them, but I don't want to speculate way too much until we get additional information. So I haven't personally participated in any of the liquidity pools through the DEXs. I know, like, I got pretty screwed on impermanent loss back in 2021, playing around with some of that stuff. So I just try to stay away from it. But yeah, paying attention to what comes out of Hedera. Also on the back end of that, we've got the Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve System and a speech from Vice Chair Michael Barr talking about crypto within this. If you want to check this out, you certainly can. And then of note, last but not least, I've shared this before. You know, this is obviously a lot of metrics around Bitcoin. It's a pretty interesting site, though. Look into bitcoin.com. You can potentially look back and see where we may or may not be within this cycle. You kind of look at some of the opportunities that may exist and go from there, make your own decisions. But again, International Monetary Fund, literally putting out a document, Trust Bridges and Money Flows, a digital marketplace to improve cross-border payments. On the back end of the Bank for International Settlements and IMF kind of talking about this global marketplace over the past couple of weeks here, and directly mentioning XRP, the XRPL, as one of the models that have arisen that are being potentially suggested within this, a private settlement asset marketplace such as XRP, XRPL. It gives Stellar as kind of the second example, and it gives DeFi as the third. Tokenization is coming, ladies and gentlemen. CBDCs are coming, ladies and gentlemen. It behooves us to pay attention to which platforms or ecosystems may be involved within the tokenization of money across the board. And pretty cool to see a newer document. This is over the past few days here, come out that directly mentions XRP, directly mentions XLM for those of you that might be fans of Stellar, and DeFi as well. So, and this was authored again by individuals from the IMF and from the Bank for International Settlements. Paper ends with a suggested global marketplace to trade tokenized money directly across borders. So hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'll talk to you when I talk to you. Bye.